Hey everyone, it's Ethan or Miist back again for another video today, and welcome back to the channel, guys. We're here again for yet another video. Going to be talking about every movie and show I watched last week, and let's get right into it. Let's start it off with the one and only season of TV I watched last week, which was season 6 of The Walking Dead, which now means I'm really like over halfway through, about halfway through, because the last couple of seasons are the longest seasons, but nonetheless. This was probably my least favorite season of the show so far. Hi, kitty. Hi, baby. But yeah, this is probably my least favorite season of the show so far. And the end, man, the end. What a cliffhanger. I couldn't imagine having to wait to watch that. That would have actually fucking sucked. But yeah. I started season 7, and season 7 I was a mess. It's the first time I actually cried to this show. Spoiler warning, I guess, but uh, Glenn's death, man. And I knew he was going to die. Unfortunately, one of the spoilers I seen last week, I think I mentioned in my last week's video, but one of the spoilers I had seen earlier. Oh, you know what? No, that was earlier in the week. Anyways, I seen a spoiler. Um, it was a picture of Lucille or Negan's bat, and the caption was, "What do you think Glenn's last thoughts were?" And that's, ugh, oh man, I might add some pictures of how I was. Oh no! Ah! Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? She's fine. She's fine. I promise. Sorry. Anyways, I might add some pictures of how I was looking while watching that scene because that was really rough. It's the most I think I've ever cried to anything show or movie related, especially show. It was brutal. It was awful. That really sucked. So yeah. Anyways, let's get into the movies. I had an interesting week. I feel like I didn't watch any. Oh, I don't know. I don't know what I want to. I don't know what I'm saying. Anyways, let's get into it. With one of the themes of the weekend was also one of my goals of the year, which was to watch every Hellboy movie. And my least favorite is the 2019 David Harbour Hellboy, which I ranked a 29 out of 100. It's definitely my least favorite of the 4 live action films. There are a couple of animated ones, but they're not on any streaming services, so I don't know if I'll ever end up watching them, but maybe someday. But ultimately, yeah, this was definitely just my least favorite of the 4 live action movies. This one felt like it was trying to be awesome, and in my opinion, it's not. I do feel like this is like an ultimate dad movie that most dads would probably like, but yeah, I just didn't really care for it very much at all. Ranked today 29 out of 100. Now let's move on to Hellboy the Crooked Man, which apparently this is the most comic accurate of the Hellboy movies, which makes sense. It feels like it. It's more of a horror story, which is definitely noted. I mean, this is a horror movie, like 100%. And yeah, I mean, coming up. Hi. But yeah, this is definitely a horror movie, and I enjoyed that. The low budget feel was, I think kind of what hinders this film. To be honest, I think it's still a. To be honest, I think it's a decent movie. I just think with maybe like a higher budget or even a longer runtime, it could have been better. Because ultimately, I definitely enjoyed some moments in this. Um, but yeah. So let's move on to Lost in Translation, which I want to go through the Coppola women filmography, the Coppola women's filmography this year, and Sofia Coppola is one of my goals for the year. And Lost in Translation, ultimately, I didn't love. I didn't really know what to expect heading into this, but yeah, I didn't really care for it. There's a lot of the cast that I don't really care for either, to be honest, but ultimately, I just think this is an okay movie. I don't think it's anything special. The fact that this entire film is in Japan, I feel like we never even really kind of get into that, and I wish there was more culture within the film. But ultimately, I think it's fine. Ranked it at 57 out of 100. Let's move on to Hellboy 2: The Golden Army, which is my least favorite of the 2 Guillermo del Toro movies. and these were really the last. Sorry, these were really the last of the Guillermo del Toro movies that I wanted to watch. I might watch Mimic one day, but yeah, Hellboy 1 and 2, they're both very Del Torian, I feel. There are some pretty amazing character design, some awesome practical effects, some awesome costume designs, and Ron Perlman is a lot of people's like favorite comic one of their favorite comic book castings, and I quite liked him as well as Hellboy. Now I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know everything about Hellboy. That's just not the case. I don't. Never read any of the comics either, but yeah, I mean, I think ultimately this is just two decent movies. And if you like Del Toro, you'll probably like these movies. So let's move on to the first one, Hellboy, which I ranked a 63 out of 100. It's my favorite of the four, and ultimately, I just don't think I really care for any of these movies a whole lot. Hellboy seemed like an interesting character to me, but to be honest, I didn't really know how like fantastical and how much fantasy was involved in this character, and I think that just I don't know, maybe that's just not the vibe I'm in right now. I'm not in a fantasy vibe or a horror vibe, but overall, I still did enjoy this movie. Like I said, it is my favorite of the four live action ones, and I ranked it a 63 out of 100. Let's move on to another theme of the week, which is Now You See Me. And although Mel and I didn't get to watch the third this week like we planned, some plans kind of got in the way throughout the weekend. But overall, let's talk about the first two at least. I enjoyed the first two rewatching them. It's the first time I've rewatched them since I first started ranking movies on Letterboxd back in I think 2020. So, or not 2020, sorry, 2022. But yeah, Now You See Me 2 is my least favorite of the two. And at one point, I probably would have said this is my favorite of the two. So that's interesting. That's definitely changed quite a bit. The rating's not even really that close either. I rank this an 81 out of 100. And although I do think this is fun, I think it's overly long. I do like this cast, but not as much as the first cast either, or the cast in the first film. I just enjoy them more in the first film as well. And yeah, I mean, I think it's still a great movie, but ultimately, I just don't enjoy it as much as I enjoy the first one, which is kind of surprising because I didn't really know what to expect, considering, like I said, it's been a long time since I've rewatched these, but let's keep on going to Brother Bear. Now, I will be honest with you, I did not watch all of this movie. I went over to my parents' house over the weekend on Saturday to help them move, and they weren't there. And I was about 20, or I guess my niece was about 20 minutes into the movie when I got there, and I joined her and I watched the rest of the movie with her. And it was fun to revisit this. I haven't watched it in a couple of years, and ultimately, I think it's a very sad movie, but it's still quite good. Um, and yeah, I ranked it an 82 out of 100. I seem to be higher on this than some people, but I feel like that's kind of the way that most animated movies are. Some people either love them or some people just think they're fine. And I kind of fall like a little bit in between. Like I think it's a great movie, but I don't think it's anything special. But nonetheless, I still enjoyed it. Ranked it an 82 out of 100. Let's move on to Arco, which I ranked an 83 out of 100. And although this movie is very interesting, it's got gorgeous animation and a fun English cast. Because in my theater, they're only playing the English dubbed version, so I didn't get to watch it in the French version. But this is a beautiful movie. And even with all of those bonuses and those great factors about it, I struggle to stay awake just because I've been so fucking tired lately. And I was really struggling to stay awake during this movie for a pretty large portion of it, truthfully. So, nothing against the movie because I think it's actually a really great movie. And I think if I could have stayed more, paid more attention to this movie throughout, I'd have ranked this even higher. But whatever. I ranked it an 83 out of 100. I really enjoyed it. I think it's great and it's gorgeous. I would definitely recommend it if it's in a theater near you to check it out and watch it. So now let's move on to the top three of the week, and let's go to how I started the week with Marty Supreme, which is the second time I've seen it in theaters. This time I get to see it in IMAX. Finally, Avatar: The Way of Water is out of IMAX for me. We only have one IMAX theater in out of the two cineplexes that are near me. So I'm glad I was able to finally get around to seeing another movie in IMAX because it's been Avatar for forever, and yeah, I mean, I'm just glad I was able to see this in IMAX because I expected to like it more in IMAX, and although I did, not as much as I expected, but I still raised it from I believe an 85 out of 100 to an 87 out of 100, and yeah, I think it's still pretty great. Obviously, 87 out of 100 is a solid rating. Now let's move on to my second favorite watch of the week, which is Now You See Me, which I ranked a 91 out of 100. I enjoyed this far more than I remember enjoying it. And it was fun to show Mel these two movies because there's some great twists with both of them. And I kind of, now that we're in kind of like a magic vibe, we're going to probably watch the third one at some point this week. And I'm really hoping to show Mel The Prestige because I've always wanted to show her that. And I want to start going through some of Nolan's filmography again this year as the Odyssey is coming out. So might do that. But, anyways, Now You See Me, a lot of fun. I know I enjoy both of these movies more than most people, but I'm looking forward to watching the third. Kitty, please stop. I'm looking forward to watching the third. Sorry. Let's move on to my favorite watch of the week, which is probably the biggest surprise of the week for me, which was The Bridges in Madison County. This was a movie that I've been wanting to watch from Clint's discography or filmography for quite a long time now, and I'm glad I was able to finally get a chance to watch it because this is a lot of just great filmmaking. I think it's really fantastic. This movie really surprised me. Its emotional beats hit pretty hard as well. And we have two really great performances throughout as well. I love the way it's filmed. I think the actual like nature and the county of Madison, I guess, that we're in is really gorgeous. And this is a really fun movie. This is a movie I wish I could have watched with Mel because ultimately I do think she would enjoy it. So yeah, that's my favorite watch of the week, which again was surprising. I didn't think it would be so high. So, nonetheless, thank you guys all so much for watching. Hopefully, you did enjoy, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.